Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of the Mindful LCA podcast. Today we have a guest, a special guest. We have Dulce joining us. She's going to talk a little bit about her life and then maybe share some wisdom with us. It's one of those unscripted episodes. Even though we have a guest, we first like to get to know them, and then later on they can come back and we can have a more outlined or prepared uh, episode where it's like with guidelines and stuff like that. But how are you doing today, Norma?
I'm a little stressed because I'm super late and my internet didn't want to work, so I'm stressed.
It's all right. How about you, Dulce?
Mm, we're feeling more grounded now because of the extra time. So, divine timing. We're feeling grateful to be here, grateful for your work, and happy that our sister was here recently with you all and proud of her. Yeah, just kind of blown away by where we are right now, like our sister and our family. So yeah, we're feeling excited to be here, open to what the conversation, yeah, how it flows.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I
Thank
am
you.
also excited. I think I'm eager to get to know you. I think we have each other on social media, and I see your posts and stuff, and then we got similar kind of vibes to what we share and stuff like that. So just yeah, just like wanting to get to know you after knowing your brother for shit like 20 years or something. So having you seen you around here and there and stuff, but yeah, just interested in finding out more. One of that's one of my like my favorite things to do is just looking at people like, how did you get here? It's just always fascinating to me, the different paths or the paths that people take, to get to where they're at. So yeah, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
For sure. We the first thing that we like to share about ourselves usually is that we're gay. We're queer, we're gay as fuck, and we're very proud of that, and unapologetically so. We identify as a gender bending unicorn, and our pronouns were they, them, their for a very long time. But for the last year, we started using we pronouns. So those are things that are important to name. Um, at this time in our lives, we are really leaning into curanderismo learning. We identify as a student of life and see the earth as a school, but also the cosmos and the universe as a playground, and feel very much we feel very connected to our inner child, and just feel we're constantly curious and asking questions and doing research and curious about astrology and tarot, and our spirituality is everything to us. Without our connection to the divine and ourselves and our guides and angels and spiritual cord and well wise elevated ancestors, we wouldn't be where we are. So they really animate us and support us in many ways. And yeah, right now we're practicing childcare, um, and we are birth companion. And hopefully soon also we'll be supporting people who are dying, the person and also the loved ones and the community and the family. So doing grief work and heart work. And we are originally from Purépechaleans, what we call Michoacán, Mexico, um, child of Agustin Andrade Morales and Gloria, our parents. We're the middle child of five.
Awesome, awesome.
Okay.
It sounds very interesting to me. Very intrigued, like I said. uh, so if you don't mind sharing, what's because you're not obviously born with this insight or this perspective or this connection to all that. So do you mind sharing like maybe the journey that got you to this place? Like how do you become interested in this? How do you become so connected and so spiritual in this way?
So we would actually argue that we did come like this and we're born like this and
Yeah.
forgot and we're
Yes.
domesticated and conditioned and have been in a process of remembering, and still are practice
Hmm.
of remembering who we are and why we're here, and But yes, it has been a journey of returning home, and it's hard to figure out where that starts because we feel like we were in Mexico for the first 8 years of our lives before we came to California. And we don't know too much about our childhood. We don't have a ton of memories, but we know that we had an imaginary friend. And we wish that our mom would remember more about them because we feel it was probably one of our spirit guides. But for whatever reason, we don't remember them. We just know that we had an imaginary friend. And when we asked our mom, we were like, did our other siblings also have friends like us? And she was like, no, just you. And I was like, huh, okay, that's interesting. Also, our birthday is on 10/10, which we love, like as a number. We think that's just a cool number. We're Libra, a Libra sun. But anyways, there was a whole process of domestication and growing up in Mexico. We were raised Catholic, of course. Our family um, has a lot of deep Catholic roots, especially on our father's side. But we remember being in. I think really that is the journey, because in high school we remember coming home to our mom and be like, "Mom, they're telling us that we come from monkeys, but I thought that Adam and Eve, and like, what is this?" And we very quickly learned that like questions were not uh invited. You don't question
Definitely.
it. It's just what's okay,
It
sure.
is.
But you want me to
Yeah.
go to school? Okay, we were so confused. We were like, you're putting me in this education system and they're teaching us something very different from we went to Catholic school for the first few years in Mexico. And so like as a teenager, we're just like, okay, I don't know how to make sense of that. But and then in education, learning about the Holocaust, learning so much about the history, we remember also being so heartbroken and confused. Like, if God is an all powerful, why did they allow so much pain, and they allow that? That's something that we were confused with for many years going into college. We'll pause because there's a whole thread there. But were you going to say something?
No.
You can always
It was-
interrupt us.
no, just say it was a very just looking at that's a very similar like thing towards me, right? Because I also was born in Michoacan, and I came over here when I was 10. So same thing, same upbringing, the exact same situation as you, and the same thing, the same questions. I think my like splitting off from the Catholic thing was like more in college. Like I had a Raza Studies college teacher. Well, actually, didn't we have the same class? No one other remember that super skinny in the Raza Studies class? I think we had the same class. I might so confused you with somebody else. But point is, he showed like a video of like these two guys having sex dressed like Jesus, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like it just completely like just even the thing I never thought about, and the way that it was so like I guess minimized, like to be like you don't play with this, you don't do that, and from there it was like, oh shit, it just opened my eyes to like I think to where I really the questions that I already had within that like, hey, this certain things kind of don't make sense, but from that point forward, it started also my separation from Catholicism and like religion almost like altogether.
Totally. That's
Yeah,
very common for, I think, a lot of people who go through the education system. And yeah,
yeah.
like we're gay and we're queer, but we didn't know that in high school. It took us a minute. By the end
Mhm.
of college is when we came to terms with that, and that's when we were like, we realized, yeah, like how can we identify as Catholic and go to church when our parents, everybody's saying that there's no room for gays, And
Mhm.
we remember coming back around that time. Our tia asked us if we would be the godparent of their child, and
Mm.
we wanted to, but we were 20. We graduated young. We didn't know what that meant. And there
Mhm.
was this paper. They're like, "Oh, we went to church. Here, you have to sign this paper." And like, you literally had to check, like, I am Catholic and I will do, etc. I believe in, I don't know, church things. And we were like, we can't fill this out. Sorry. Like, and that was the first time that like we came out to our family as like not Catholic. And our mom was like, oh, what do you mean you don't believe in God? And our tia was like, what do you believe in then? And we were like, we believe in love. We don't believe in a
Mm,
homophobic God, you know.
Mhm.
So that was us at 20.
Mm.
mm.
Um,
How did you go through the journey of, because you're saying specifically with your queerness that you didn't know that you were queer until later on? Like, how did that come about, if you don't mind me sharing? Also, like, just for clarification, you use a you use pronouns we, us, ours. So like, as as a human, how do I address you when I'm talking in a third person sense, just to make sure I do that in a way that
same,
feels.
same. Yeah, no, it's a lot. It's new for a lot of people, and people are always like, "How does this work?" And we're like, instead of
Yes.
saying you, say we or us. So, like, if
Okay.
you were to ask us again, like, how did we come to understand our queerness, or tell me about our queer journey, or whatever, that kind of way.
Okay. Okay. All
It's a
right. Bear
practice.
with
It's
me.
okay.
This is the first time I'm going to engage in doing that, so bear with me, but I will do that.
All good. Um, yeah, this is a interesting part with the whole queerness. But basically, we were kind of aloof, um, in denial, but aloof to a lot of it until we took. It just kind of happened simultaneously that we were taking a sociology of sexuality class, which we recommend everybody to take. And then you learn about how everything is socially constructed, and so is heterosexuality and all of that heteronormativity. But at the time in college, when we were in that course, um, we had a gay teacher from SF. We went to school in Wisconsin, and here's this like gay white guy from like the Castro, um, and he was amazing. And he had us do a questionnaire where he was like, "How do you know you're heterosexual? When did you know that you were heterosexual? Like." And we remember filling that out, and we're like, oh my god, we don't know, are we? Like it was just like a seed. We are like curious, and then we started
Mm.
having dreams of a female friend. And we remember, how sometimes you're dreaming and you're aware that you're dreaming and you want to manipulate the dream to go in a certain way. So
Mhm.
there was just this scene where we were laying down and our friend was like sitting next to us, and we remember thinking like, kiss me, kiss me, kiss me. And then we woke up, and we were like, whoa.
Mm.
Like a baby, we were like, are we gay? Oh my god, what's happening? So we went to therapy. It was a whole process. But by the end of college, um we realized, like, yes, like, in hindsight it makes sense. We've always been attracted to girls. Like,
Mhm.
when we were in Mexico at the Catholic school, we used to run up to this little girl that we thought was cute, and we'd give her like all of our allowance money. The domingo that they gave you, like they give you some money for snacks. Like, we would go
Yeah.
up to her and just give her our money. And then we
Here's
didn't
my
question
offering.
that. We didn't tell anybody about that. And in middle school, there was this girl that was super popular, and because I guess we were always kind of shy, but we remember going up to her once because we just happened to run in during a break, or like, no, everyone was in class, but it was like on the way to the bathroom or something. And we're like, hi, I think you're really pretty. And then, like, I just walked away. So I think in hindsight, it's always been there, but I think because of the messaging, like, we knew growing up, which is this is the funny part, that like our mom's like favorite artist of all times for the longest time was Juan Gabriel. Right? But like at home you get all this messaging that like, oh, we don't want to go to SF, to the Castro, or drive by there because then we'll see gays kissing or holding hands. Right? Like that was messaging that we had growing up. So subconsciously we, suppressed that for a long time. And this is part of why, because we were in Hayward in the East Bay for a long time,
Mhm.
we wanted to leave the nest and like go explore the world without our parents. And that's, we got to Wisconsin to a private liberal art school, and then chopped up our hair. We came home and our dad was like, "What did you do?" But that was part of our growing up.
Nice, nice. Thank you so much for sharing that. Um, with growing up um, Catholic, queer, and now that um, their journey is more towards um, coming home. Oh no! Come
Oh,
on. Oh, can you
yeah,
hear
you're back. You're
me?
back. You're back. You're back. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm
Hmm.
so sorry. My dad changed the internet and it's driving me nuts. Um, what did you hear? Or did you hear any of that at all?
It cut off
Nothing?
halfway.
Cool. Cool. Um, I was saying that growing up Catholic with your queerness, and now there is more of a journey towards, you're calling it like coming home. Um, how how did that journey come about? Because Steve and I talk about um, how there's always like a turning point, or like a seed was planted, and we had, whether it was an event, a series of events, a period um, in lifetime. What happened for us that we were able to be like, huh, I think this might be our journey now.
Well, yeah, totally. It was our sister Maritza. She was here with you all, and she shared a little bit about her life and how we're connected. And in 2014, by that, right, basically right after college, our sister tried to overdose, and that we had majored in psychology in college. We had thought we wanted to be a family therapist because we wanted to bring solutions or help bring our family together or whatever. And yeah, pretty soon after that, we knew that our sister was having a hard time. We were obviously in Wisconsin for school. She was back in the Bay, and we would use Skype at the time, and she would read us
Mhm.
her poems, and we connected. But when we got back, pretty soon after that, um, she was hospitalized, and that was a very defining moment for us because we didn't know how bad her chronic depression was, right? And right after that, she shared part of her childhood trauma with us, and we were just like, we were different. People noticed us, and people were like, "What's wrong? You don't seem like yourself." And I think we were really just like coming to terms and understand, and it obviously impacted us a lot. It was very scary. We were very emotional, but mostly like as an older sibling, like learning what happened to her as a younger sibling, and like knowing that we weren't there for her. Like we felt
Mm.
so hopeless, and like sure we have a relationship now and we could say I'm sorry, but like we were like, what do we fucking do? What can we do?
Yeah.
And a mentor at the time saw that emotionally we were going through a lot and invited us to an ayahuasca ceremony.
Mm.
And so really our sister, you know, her attempt and her disclosing with us, like her bringing us in, she was really a catalyst for our healing journey. And so again, we majored in psychology, so like preparing for ayahuasca ceremony. At the time, like we didn't believe in God. We were like in our own space, but we went, and that was in 2015 that we attended our first ceremony, and that was just the first time that we worked with plant medicine. Like even up to that point, I don't think we had cannabis or like, we didn't really drink. Like this was just like a boot camp. It's like we didn't start with anything soft. It was just like this big medicine.
Right
And so
into it. Hmm.
we weren't ready. We were scared. We didn't know what to expect. And also because of the research, our mind at the time, we were very like the language that we were reading was from the perspective of Westerners, right? And it was like this is about hallucinations and you might expect this and we remember being in the ceremony and being like, I don't know what's real. What's real? Is this real? What is happening?
Hmm.
But there was this fear that we had of we've always been afraid of the dark. As a kid, we grew
Hmm.
up having that fear. And the ceremony takes place like overnight in the dark. And so um that's I think that ceremony made us wonder about trauma that we experienced as a child that was
Mm.
connected to Maritza's, but we hadn't been thinking about that,
Yeah.
So after this ceremony, we were like, "Oh my God, I think this happened to me too." Wow! And then I started going to therapy, and then I started learning about Buddhism at the time and Buddha. I was a great teacher. We started going to silent vipassana meditation retreats at Spirit Rock and did EMDR, and so a few years after that, 4 years after that, we were invited to another ayahuasca ceremony and we were scared again and hesitant again, but we experienced what we needed to experience. And that's when we decided that we wanted to work with something maybe more gentle. We started working with Niños Santos
Hmm.
and just at home on our own, like without a guide. But
Oh, wow.
and then we started working with cannabis. We've always had a very good, healthy relationship with cannabis, and that's when like we started doing all these deep research into our indigeneity and our ancestors and curanderismo, and then we started honoring the directions, and then we started creating altares for the earth, and there's all this curriculum that came and when working with cannabis specifically, but and the niños they told us, they reminded us that like we're all connected and that we are love and that we've never been alone. And it kind of it led us to it prepared us for 2020, which was like a big year for us too.
Mm. Can you
Does
can
that
can we
does that
elaborate
give
on
you all
that?
some in context? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, 100%. I don't know if Steve, you have any questions, but as we're talking about it, um, we're saying 2020 was a big year for us. So I'm curious into what that means, but I don't know if Steve, you have any anything else that
Uh,
you want to get into before
yeah,
we
I
move
know. I
on
think
to
you
that.
touched on it a little bit. What your experience was with ayahuasca and all that stuff, and I think is important. We talked about it several times here on the podcast with other guests, and like you, Norma, have done it yourself. But what
Hmm.
was just maybe so we can share some awareness, some experience on that. Like, what was that? Can you go more into detail about how it happened? How did you feel while that? So maybe people that are interested in trying it, can gain some insight from your experience.
Yeah, well, I think that our we are excited to now go to an Aya ceremony because we have come a long way from honestly our advice would be to not research it because everybody's experience is completely unique and we the medicine like we always can set an intention but then the medicine has its own curriculum and so for the first ceremony um we actually that was like in 2015, 10 years ago. We don't remember what our intention was. I think that our intention was very vague and general. I think it was like we want to heal. We know that we need medicine, but we don't know why. We don't know what we need to
Mm.
heal, you know? And the thing that happened is that right before the ceremony, there was somebody else there who we connected with, and he was like, "Is this your first time?" We were like, "Yeah." We were like, "What about you?" He was like, "No, this is my second time." And he told me that the first time that he was there, that he went up for a second cup, and that he woke up a few hours later, he completely blacked out, and he tried to fight people, or we don't know. It impacted our experience. So like we were
Mm.
already kind of nervous, but so he was like, "Don't take the second cup," and we're like, "Okay, okay." Like we don't want to black out. Like we don't want that to be our experience. So we remember at the what we remember right now is in the middle of ceremony, um, feeling a presence come on our right, like and sit next to us and put like their hand on our thigh. But this is part of what we mean by our trauma was like being revealed to us, because we're like, whoa, like uh we realized like, oh, we're in the dark and we don't know anybody here, and there's all these men here, and what if this is like we started freaking out about being like abused or raped or something, and like that just came up in that moment, and we were like, I'm not ready. And then like it backed off, whatever that was, like went away. But we remember having like an out of body experience where we sort of like saw ourselves from above us, and we saw ourselves like as the fetus, and we saw ourselves as a fetus inside our mom's womb, and our mom in the womb of our grandma. And we just felt like all this compassion for our mom, because we always like wanted our mom to be gentle, to be sweet, tender, affectionate. And and in that moment we were like, we had just had this understanding. We were like, oh my God, well, we keep expecting mom to give us something that she never got. She didn't get that from her
Mm-hmm.
mom. She experienced all the trauma that her mom experienced. And I did too, as a little egg inside of her. So we remember that. And we also remember there was this assistant who was playing the guitar and singing this music, and we could see like rainbows coming out of the guitar, and it was just this like bliss and love and joy and hope. And we also remember like a woman in the back, which we couldn't tell. We're like, is that a woman in the ceremony or like a spirit? We don't know, but there was somebody who was just sobbing and crying, and we could feel our face like shrink and be small, and like we could feel the grief of the world at that moment, like
Mm.
hearing those sobs. But their takeaway from that ceremony was, yeah, we need to heal, and it might have to do with this. And we started reading all about love, because there was this compassion for our mom, and like that. Oh, that was our takeaway. I remember writing about that after ceremony. It was like we um we want love. We were like, it was like a moment of us being like, it's okay that we are seeking love or that we need love. That's okay. It's not like a childish thing, or it was just like an affirmation that like we are worth, we can go on that journey. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Oh, it's a lot of people call that ayahuasca or medicine abuelita. So like
Mm-hmm.
she will show you what you need to see for sure. It yeah, you're absolutely right. I think every experience is different. It's not one that can be explained and generalized to like you're gonna go through this and then you're gonna go through that and you're gonna go through that. Like it's not something that you can really put words to. Like if um the only thing that I could say to that is definitely set an intention. If it's a vague one, like it's better than nothing. Um but prepare yourself, like actually go into ceremony, because I think like a lot of people have just because it also has been taken over and very westernized and very whitewashed, and they do this like huge ceremonies with like hundreds of people. And if you are thinking about doing ceremony, please, 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 please go to an indigenous guide that actually knows what the fuck they're doing. Don't go in a big group, and prepare for it. If you're just going like, I wanted to go because I want to do drugs, like, I mean, you can go for it by all means. Just know that your experience might be very shocking if you're not prepared. So, I would say definitely set the intentions, find the right people, do it with a small group, and do it as a ceremony, as a spiritual ceremony, not just as a trip, as some people
For
call it. So,
sure.
yeah.
It's sacred. Yeah, and we
Hmm.
didn't know that when we were 2015. I mean, we shut up with respect, but we didn't know that. Now we're like, yeah, there's a whole dieta. You don't eat processed foods, like no sex, no alcohol. Like, yeah, it's like you got to take it seriously because the medicine
Yeah.
will interact with that in different ways. So, yeah, it's about
Hmm.
respecting the medicine for sure.
Yeah. For sure. Yes, I agree. Yeah, does that help, Steve, with what you were looking to get out of that? I don't know if
Yeah, definitely. It's
that
just
is.
to kind of see the people's experience. Like I said, I think we just putting information out there so that the because I know that the tides are changing and people are becoming more interested and becoming more mainstream, like you said. So just kind of thought sharing both of your experience would be beneficial.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So now you tease us about 2020. What happened in 2020?
2020, the pandemic happened, and everyone was in hysteria and chaotic and scared. And we remember being like, this is good. Like for us to be home. Like we weren't in panic mode. We were like, this it sucks and this is hard, but this needs to happen for whatever reason. It's something is happening, and we started listening to a lot of indigenous elders. Like there was like a Mother Earth delegation of United Nations that was like on Zoom every month, and they would always channel messages from the earth or like prophecies from their indigenous heritages, and it just really made us connect with like there is a there's a bigger story here, and it's part of something way bigger than we can maybe not comprehend, but we can do our part in our role, right? But that was all happening as we started working with an intuitive healing guidance coach who's also a licensed therapist. But they were instrumental in our journey, especially that year. They introduced us to energy work. We didn't know what that was, but we scheduled a session, and it was like our first Reiki session. And after that session, our coach said, um, there are some benevolent beings here that want to be available to you if you're open to it. And if you are, you can tell them. And we were like, huh? What does that mean? You know, we were still just like a baby, we feel. We didn't know what that meant, but we're like, that sounds great. Sure, we'll be open to it. And so we
Hmm.
told them, we like literally just affirmed, said out loud, like, benevolent beings, we are open and receptive to your guidance and your divine support, you know. And that led us to work with a healer. We wanted to get a reading from her, but instead, she helped her instead of her giving us all this information and giving us homework in like a 1 hour, 2 hour session, she was like, Dulce, she was like, I think that we need to work 30 minutes a week and I'll give you homework because I think you're shedding an identity and I just want to help you integrate. And we were like, no, we want you to open the Akashic records and tell us everything. And I was like, okay, God, okay. So her first homework assignment, she said, um, I want you to tell your guides to presence themselves. And we're like, okay, sure, we'll try that. And she was like, try to go into a trance state when you meditate and just like see what you notice and write down some notes, come back next week, you know? And we were like, okay, sure, we'll try that. And all week, like every day, we found at least one moment that we were like, guys, please presence yourselves. We want to see you. We'd love to know that you're here, you know?
Mm.
And the whole week we were like, who could that be? We were like, who could be our guides? You know, we're like, oh, is it our grandma or is it? And so there was this moment when we were in the hallway and we were literally thinking about them. We were like, oh, I think it's my grandma. And then all of a sudden, like I just kind of felt this feeling of like noticing, looking around and pausing. And we saw like a blue light, like a blue orb on the ground. And we were like, is that real? And then we were like, we just, as soon as we saw it, we felt happy. We felt supported. We felt joy. And we were like, oh my God, you must be one of them. And then they, they like came closer to me. And then we saw another one and another one and another one. And there was four. And we just cried and teared up because we were like, our whole lives we felt alone in so many ways. And like that was the
Mm.
moment. That was like a moment for us when we were like, wow, we're not alone. And it was a really beautiful affirmation for us.
Mm. Mm.
And after that year, we finally got a reading from a medium, and they connected us a bit to our guides. And at the time, we told them for like the first reading, we were a high school special education teacher. That's we have a master's in special ed. We did TFA after college and all of that, and we knew that that's not what we came to do. But with our reader, we asked like we had like enough tidbits at that point from our intuitive healing guidance coach and the healer that we worked with for a month, that we had some like some messages, you know, but like crumbs that we were following along. We're like, let's see where this leads us, and it led us to the reader. And so we're like, we know that we're here to do healing work, but we don't know what kind of healing work, like what you got for us, you know. And there was this whole reading for us, and um that was really big for us because it happened right we didn't mention this, but I think it was in 2020 when, yeah, it was in 2020 when our grandma transitioned, on our dad's side, our maternal grandma, Maria Elena. Um, she transitioned in February, right before the pandemic. Um, and before she transitioned, we thought that like when you died, like it was the end. There's nothing more. You just become dirt, and there's no heaven. There's no afterlife. Like that's kind of what we what we thought. But right when she transitioned is when we were reading all the books about curanderismo. We started reading about the Purepecha cosmovision and like learning like all these different ways of looking at life and the afterlife. And our grandma visited us in our dreams before she transitioned and after she transitioned. So she was
Mm.
also kind of, she was, I feel like she initiated us, I feel like in some ways, to like embracing this spiritual life or spirit world, if that makes sense.
I love that. I love that. Sometimes I'm very early on my journey. Like I've only been exploring this spiritual side of me and just coming back to source, December of 2022. I'm like in diapers with that. Um, and I can relate a little bit of to what we're saying because um like those times where there is the ancestor, there is the presence. Sometimes it's hard, and maybe you can we can share our experience with that, what it's like to, I don't know if maybe I'm projecting, but is there a sense of maybe misunderstanding of not being able to explain or elaborate, um, because we do live in a very westernized, colonized world. So when, for me, my grandpa and my tia who passed away, they show up in colors, right? Of like, there's specific combination of colors that I like, that I see, that I don't think is common. So whenever I see them, I'm like, see you. Okay, I got you. I got you. You're right here with me. Um, but explaining that to human is very difficult. So I'm wondering if we can share our experience with that.
With telling people about our experience.
Just how it's been.
Yeah,
If there is the sense of
totally.
like people don't get what we're saying.
For sure, for sure. I mean, we always identified as the black sheep of the family slash the rainbow sheep of the family, but it's like every year we just get more and more weird, and like we just get more and more disconnected from everybody, and that's okay. Like our brother, he's like, "Oh, you're into astrology and like tarot, and I don't, mess with that," and we're like, "That's okay,
Very
we do.
opposite sides of the spectrum, you
That's
two.
okay."
Very
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
So
Go ahead. Sorry.
it's no, but this is why we had therapy. In 2020, we had like our intuitive healing guidance coach, and we were also blessed with a spiritual companion, Cynthia, and there was another friend, Lily Squintly, Patti, and Christy Baba. Like, Patti and Cynthia were kind of like on a mirroring awakening journey with us at the same time, and so we all got to bond over how isolating it was, but like be able to share with each other, and so then we didn't
Mhm.
feel so weird, because we
Yeah.
did not share like a lot of the things that we've shared here, like we haven't shared with our family because one, they don't ask or inquire about us in our lives, but two, it's like, like we're just in a different place, and that's okay. So we've been also very discerning of like who we share with, because
Yeah.
yeah, we know our experience and trust our experience, and because of all the healing work that we've done with the support of the medicines and therapy and altares and our ancestors, like we um we have healed, like we're our relationship with ourselves, with our intuition, so we know what is true, and so like we're not gonna tell somebody who's then gonna make us feel weird. It's like, no, we know we're weird. We're here to walk a different path. Like this is
Hmm.
literally us reclaiming lost medicine that's ancestral and that's in our lineage. And we're also a projector in human design, which it's got like a whole curriculum that we're new at. Again, it's like when you start, it's like when we were preparing for our second ayahuasca ceremony, the guide was like trying to prepare us, and they were like, there's so much that you know, or you think you know, and then there's what you don't know, then there's what you don't know. And when she told us that, we were like, huh? But now we understand, because it's just like one door opens and then it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
where do you want to go from here? Now we're learning about ancient civilizations and like, you know what I mean? It's just yeah.
It's a
So we
lot.
don't
Yeah.
share with everyone, because I think it's about vibration. If we can
Yeah.
both like respect each other's experience, like cool, then
Mhm.
we can share ours, and maybe you have insight into ours. But yeah, it's been overall isolating. But this is
Yeah.
why we've had good friends, and then why we've had to seek out spiritual community, because they're like, oh, you too, you also see orbs, or where are you at with that? How do we work with that? Like, what do you do? How do you meditate?
Mm, thank you. I think
Finding
you might be
community.
in. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. You might be interested in a conference that I go to every year, um, where the work that's done there, it's aimed at healers. It does have like CEUs and stuff, but um, like a lot of spiritual work goes on. around it. So maybe we can connect, link up, and talk about that, because the dates for the next one next year in February just dropped. Um, so maybe if you're interested, we can talk about it. And I would also like to pick your brain maybe with like some of the people that you're talking about, because I mean, I've had a great therapist, and like the lens has been very, very westernized. So I like sometimes I have a hard time. I'm like, I don't know where to go. I know I want more and I want growth, but I don't know where to look for it. So if you can put me on with some people, I would really
For
appreciate that.
sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta find our people. It's like, yeah, we keep inviting our mom to Sweat Lodge to Temazcal, and she's like, no, we like sponsored our own for our birthday last year because it was like, this is a big, we just went through a lot of change this year, a lot of grief. This is big. And we invited our mom, and she was like, I don't like the ceremonies that you go to. And I was like, why? She's like, they make me feel uncomfortable. And when we went to retreat with the curandera in Cuernavaca, our grandma, her mom, was like, "Why isn't that witchcraft? What are you doing? Like, where are you going? And at this point, it is witchcraft. but if you think, but
You're
if
like,
you
yes, it
think,
is. It is.
but people have Catholics and so many of us, like the mainstream, has this view of witchcraft as evil or bad or whatever, but it's all magic, and magic is real. And yeah, with our word and our rituals, like we can create. And anyways, yeah, we can connect over that. It's important
Yeah.
to find good
Yeah.
people that you
Yes. And
trust.
just I really do want to thank us for being able to share our story, right? Like as we're sharing, of discerning who to share it with and who not to share it with. So the fact that we are sharing with us is it means a lot to me. So thank you
For
for
sure.
that.
Yeah, definitely. This is all like I'm growing and I'm learning to become more open minded. But I'll be honest with you, this is very very different and very different than my
Very
path. Right?
foreign.
Like it's just yeah, mine is very just like evidence based shit. So it's very hard for like me to wrap my mind around it. But I've grown a lot. Like I was telling you in the past, I've gotten into Buddhism and understanding that, and now I take care of my plantitas and my chickens and my grandpa avocado tree in my yard and all this shit. So like shit is growing and something's happening there. Um, but yeah,
Something
it's still.
shifting.
And I'm like that's what I told you. I knew this what your conversation was gonna be. Like I was probably familiar with your past, like I said, based on what you share. But I'm not in any way dismissing it or rejecting it because I've already come to like yeah, like we can all have different paths, and at the same time, maybe like Norma says, maybe I'm at an earlier stage or whatever it be. I think at the end of the day, as long as we get to the same point and like kind of the same idea of love at the end of the day, and like understanding for one another and non-judgmental and appreciating and taking care of one another as humans and as the earth, like hey, whatever fucking path you take, like that's all means because we can have different ways, different paths that we got to get there. But as long as we are there, this is like almost at the end of the day, we all have the same understanding in our own
For
different
sure.
ways. But I'm definitely, like I said, I'm becoming more and more open to exploring this side and just know, like I said, I was just very interested in. That's why I was very interested in your journey because I'm always want to learn and I want to get different perspective and different ideas. As to whether
That's
before Norma
good.
can tell you when we started this version of the podcast, I would have been like, nah, get the fuck out of here. you know, but I've grown a lot even in this past like year, a lot, like I was telling you with
Good
my
job,
avocado
Steve.
tree and all that stuff. But yeah.
Plus,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
no,
think
and like, oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
No, but that's what we were trying to say, like, I mean, for us, like, out of college with our psych degree, going into the free ayahuasca ceremony, we were like, what the fuck is this? Is this real? Blah, whatever. Like, we were in our mind, we were very, like, logical and analytical and, like, wanted to. And a few years after that, I mean, by the time we got to Buddhism, like we started working with the plant medicine, and we literally felt the medicine early on. I think it was the Niño Santos. Like they literally were like, just open your mind, open your heart. And I was like, okay, okay. And like the more we open, the more that is revealed, and then you get to decide how far you want to go. Really, it feels like it's like choose your own adventure, but we feel and we trust that like we are all exactly where we need to be, and um all journeys leads to the same destination. Like that's what we've heard teachers say, and
Hmm.
that feels right. Like that just is what makes sense. We're all, like
Yeah.
Ramdas says, like we're all walking each other home. Which, by the way, if you haven't watched his video documentary on Netflix, Going Home, it's really beautiful and moving.
Mm,
I'll make a note of it right
okay.
now.
Well, yeah. Going home, you said?
Yeah, yeah. He
Going
says
home.
at the end, we love how he ends in the documentary. He's like, love yourself first, love yourself, and then love everyone, love everything, and like we really feels like that has been our journey, and it is. It's like
Hmm.
the more that we accept ourselves and have compassion for ourselves, the more we can extend that to others. And ultimately, yeah, we're here, we feel to love, and our relationships are like uh the process that we go through to remember to heal, to hurt, to remember to, like, and that's what we're gonna recall when we leave. We're gonna, remember our friendships and our connections, and we're not taking anything material with us, you know.
Definitely, yeah.
So
Yeah.
we gotta enjoy
Yeah.
each other and love each other and learn to forgive. It's a good
I think
medicine.
I think that is a very good summary of what Steve and I have been trying to bring awareness to teach people about, of this part of let's just connect, y'all. Let's just love each other. And the more we do that, the more we open up, the more we are vulnerable with each other, stronger of connections that we're going to have, and that will eventually lead us to where we belong, like going back home. So it is absolutely what we have been trying this podcast to be, of just a reminder of let's let's love, let's connect, let's heal. And I will say, Steve, like you 100% like have shifted so much, from last year. What are we, like almost at a year for
I think so.
this podcast? We're
Yeah, I think
about
so.
we're about there, in I think in like June we're coming up in a year. And I think the change that you've had has been tremendous. And I don't know that I've said that before. Not that you need me to, but you, yes, like there was like a running joke before when we started, where we would say like, oh, it's the crystals, right? Of like there is, um, like where he was like, that's dumb. That doesn't, like there's no such thing as like crystals or whatever, like power with that. Um, and so it was like the very logical side, evidence based. Give me the research, give me the evidence that this is real. Otherwise, I am for it. And I am more of like, I'm very woo woo. I'm very like spiritual. I'm very intuition. But I think, um, he's coming to the side. So
Well, there can be, a union there. I think that's part of what's
Mhm.
happening now. Like so much of, like, in curanderismo, traditional indigenous ancestral medicine, like it's ancient. It's like millennia, and
Yeah.
there's now like science that is even like, there's so much research they do on meditators, right, and monks and whatever. Like the science is slowly validating all the things
Mhm.
that indigenous people have known for centuries, and that's part of
Century.
what's happening right now. Like, I don't know if y'all have ever read Braiding Sweetgrass, um, by Robin Kimmerer. She talks about her relationships with plants, and that's an amazing book for anybody. But she is a scientist and she's indigenous, and so there's this like indigenous science now too that's emerging. So yeah,
What is it called again?
Braiding Sweetgrass.
Okay.
Books have
I
really
will.
supported us. It's right here. It's so powerful. It's beautiful.
Braiding
There's
sweet
also
grass.
audiobooks if you want. Indigenous wisdom, scientific knowledge, and the teachings of plants.
Cool, 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 cool. Anything anything you want to leave us with? Anything you want to share? Maybe we always like to remind our listeners that like we are available and we're here to help out with any struggle or any way that we can in that, so if there's somebody struggling with maybe a similar struggle that you had, or just struggling in general with their well-being, emotional health, mental health, is there something you'd like to offer to them that might share some insight, give some help or give some hope or something like that they would like to share?
Well, just a reminder that whoever is listening and you all, everyone, all of us, but um, you are perfectly designed. You are divine and you are a child of the divine. And we, it's okay to take up space. And if you're gay and you're queer and you've also experienced rejection from family, that's something we didn't touch on, but that was also weaved into our journey. But you are sacred. We all are sacred, but I feel like sometimes the things that we feel insecure about, or that we judge ourselves for being different, they're like actually our greatest
Mm.
gifts and assets, and it's part of the reason why we're here. Like, we're
Mm.
here to be different, to create a new path, and we need to be courageous and bold to live authentically, whatever that means to you. As long as we can be honest and true with ourselves, even other people might criticize you, other people might whatever. It's We're here to live our lives for us and for the divine, and we deserve to be happy.
Thank you.
Awesome, awesome.
Yes.
Appreciate
Yeah.
that.
I appreciate us for sure.
Very, very true words here. Yeah, we definitely want you back, okay?
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Hmm.
Okay.
We can touch on some other issues, some other topics and stuff.
Yes.
Definitely, we'll stay in
Yeah.
touch. But for now, a little reminder: this is our email, mindfulpodcastliving@gmail.com. You can send us a message, some feedback. You want to be a guest? You have any questions for Dulce or any of us? Let us know. Um, Also, don't forget we have the Instagram group still going there. So if you want to join, if you want to be there, like everybody's on different paths and different stages of their healing of their journey. So you feel
Mm-hmm.
free to share. We curated a little safe space. Multiple people have told us how much impact just being able to share our struggles and be ourselves within the group has made for people. So that's also available. You can just message us, comment on YouTube or on
On Spotify.
Spotify, whatever it is. And yeah, just like remind you guys, Norma's a therapist. I a certified therapist and a certified freak. She told me to say last time. And, and I am an uncertified, just like not traditionally healer, helper, guide, whatever you want to call me. I'm here too. So yes. And then like we always say, you gotta let
In order
go
to
in
grow.
order to grow.
Thank
Peace, guys.
you.
Blessings.